Hello everyone, I'm Yazan Ibrahim, or as some of you might know me, Yazan Abu Ghosh. Today we're going to dive into a fascinating and essential topic, Fraud Examiner Section 4, Fraud Prevention and Deterrence 4.5 Auditors Fraud-Related Responsibilities Script Uncovering Deception, Auditors' Crucial Role in Fraud Prevention and Detection. Hey there everyone, and welcome to a captivating dive into a world where numbers tell stories, and sometimes those stories hide dark secrets. Today, we're exploring the critical role auditors play in fraud prevention and detection. Over the next 15 minutes, we'll journey through the responsibilities of external, internal, and government auditors, unpacking how they safeguard financial integrity, spot deception, and uphold trust in organizations and public institutions. So, settle in, maybe grab a notebook, and let's peel back the layers of this essential line of defense against fraud. Let's start with the broad picture of what auditors do when it comes to fraud. Auditors, whether they're external, internal, or working for the government, are like detectives in the financial world, tasked with ensuring that the books aren't just numbers but a true reflection of reality. Their responsibilities around fraud prevention and detection vary depending on their role and the type of engagement, shaped by regulations, professional standards, and regional guidelines. It's not just about catching crooks, it's about building systems and mindsets that stop fraud before it even starts. Now, let's zoom in on external auditors and their fraud-related responsibilities. Picture a team of sharp-eyed professionals poring over a company's financial statements. Their goal, not just to check the math, but to provide an opinion on whether those statements paint a true and fair picture of the organization's health. Their primary focus isn't specifically to hunt for fraud, but to identify material misstatements, errors, or intentional deceptions that could mislead stakeholders. According to global standards like the International Standards on Auditing or ISAs developed by the IASB, their mission is clear: obtain reasonable assurance that financials are free of significant distortions, whether from mistakes or deliberate acts. One key standard, ISA 240, lays out their fraud-specific duties. It's like a guidebook for spotting the shadows in the numbers. ISA 240 emphasizes distinguishing between errors, unintentional slip-ups, and fraud, which is intentional deception, whether it's fraudulent financial reporting to inflate profits or misappropriation of assets like embezzling funds. The standard builds on risk assessment, ISA 315, and response strategies, ISA 330, urging auditors to identify fraud risks using the fraud triangle: incentive or pressure, like meeting earnings targets; opportunity, often from weak controls; and rationalization, where wrongdoers justify their actions. While management and governance bear the primary burden of preventing fraud, auditors must maintain professional skepticism, a questioning mindset that doesn't take anything at face value, even if the company has a spotless reputation. Their actions under ISA 240 are meticulous. They make inquiries with management about fraud risk processes, discuss oversight with governance, and talk to internal auditors about suspected issues. They assess risks by analyzing unusual financial trends and maintain unpredictability in their procedures to catch hidden schemes. Yet, challenges loom large. Fraud, especially by management overriding controls, is harder to detect than errors due to concealment and collusion. Even small fraudulent acts can be material if they signal intent, influencing how stakeholders view the company. Let's shift to a critical aspect of their work: responding to assessed fraud risks. At the financial statement level, external auditors assign skilled personnel, like forensic experts, to high-risk areas and scrutinize accounting policies for signs of manipulation. At the assertion level, they tailor procedures to specific risks, auditing journal entries for odd activity, reviewing estimates for bias, and examining unusual transactions for legitimate business reasons. If fraud is suspected or confirmed, they reevaluate their approach, consider collusion, and may even withdraw from the engagement if circumstances prevent continuation, reporting to management, governance, or regulators as needed. Communication and documentation are non-negotiable. Auditors must promptly report fraud to the right levels, escalating to governance if management is implicated. They obtain written assurances from management about fraud prevention controls and document every step: risk discussions, identified risks, procedures, and communications. They also identify and communicate internal control deficiencies, ensuring governance understands potential weaknesses, even if the audit isn't designed to opine on controls. Now let's turn to internal auditors, who operate within the organization and play a unique role in fraud risk management. Think of them as the internal sentinels, with deep insight into the company's operations. According to the ACFE's Occupational Fraud 2024 report, they detect 14% of occupational fraud cases, a testament to their importance. Guided by the Institute of Internal Auditors (IIA) Global Internal Audit Standards, Their principles span competency, due professional care, strategic planning, effective communication, and engagement planning. Under Principle 3, competency means having the skills to tackle fraud risks, from governance to data analysis, continuously developing through training. Principle 4, due professional care, involves professional judgment, weighing costs and benefits while considering fraud likelihood. Principle 9 tasks the Chief Audit Executive, CAE, with crafting dynamic audit plans aligned with organizational goals, including fraud risk evaluation. Principle 11 ensures the CAE escalates unresolved risks, like those threatening reputation or compliance, to the board. And Principle 13 focuses on engagement planning, prioritizing fraud risks through formal assessments. Internal auditors use tools like the IAA's three lines model, providing independent assurance on governance while maintaining separation from management. The IIA's practice guide on internal audit and fraud aligns with COSO's framework, emphasizing periodic fraud risk assessments, governance evaluations, and fraud awareness training. Their focus spans fraud risks, potential opportunities, schemes, planned misconduct, and events, actual fraud, assessing organizational vulnerabilities, and recommending prevention strategies. They don't manage fraud risks directly to preserve independence, but investigate suspicions, analyze root causes, and suggest control improvements. A key area for internal auditors is reporting and assessing fraud risk governance. The CAE communicates significant risks to senior management and the board, ensuring fraud awareness and anti-fraud culture are organization-wide. They evaluate fraud management processes, residual risks, and leadership's cooperation, providing an overall opinion on governance effectiveness. Their toolkit includes proactive auditing, data analytics, and transaction analysis for high-risk areas, sometimes sharing findings with external auditors as required by law. Let's explore a specialized focus for internal auditors. Auditing anti-bribery and anti-corruption programs. They scrutinize the tone at the top, assessing management's stance on corruption and communication strategies, fostering an ethical culture. They evaluate inherent bribery risks, test policy documentation and compliance, check training effectiveness, monitor whistleblowing mechanisms, and confirm investigation protocols. Their reporting ensures findings align with legal requirements, regularly updating leadership on anti-corruption efforts. It's a meticulous process, reinforcing governance and accountability at every step. Now let's pivot to government auditors who operate in the public sector under the INTOSAI framework of professional pronouncements. INTOSAI, founded in 1953, is the umbrella body for supreme audit institutions, SIs, promoting high-quality standards for public sector auditing. Their framework includes foundational principles like the Lima Declaration, emphasizing independent government auditing, and ESSIs, which provide comprehensive guidelines across audit types. Fundamental principles for public sector auditing cover organizational requirements like ethics and quality control, and general principles like independence, professional skepticism, and audit risk management. Materiality considers financial and contextual factors, while documentation and communication ensure transparency with stakeholders. The audit process involves planning with clear terms and fraud risk assessments, conducting audits with sufficient evidence, and reporting findings objectively to enable corrective actions. Focusing on fraud-related standards, ISA SI 200 for financial audits seeks reasonable assurance that statements are free of material misstatements, whether from fraud or error. Auditors maintain skepticism, assess fraud risks in areas like procurement or grants, and report findings to external bodies if needed. ESSI 1240, aligned with ISA 240, adds public sector nuances, noting broader objectives like non-compliance and internal control effectiveness. It distinguishes abuse, misuse of authority from fraud, urging attention to political relationships and public fund sensitivity. Auditors can't withdraw from engagements, so they must evaluate impacts on opinions and report to investigative bodies or legislatures. ISSI 400 for compliance audits assesses adherence to regulations, promoting accountability by identifying fraud risks like abuse of public authority. Auditors exercise care to avoid interfering with legal proceedings. Finally, ISSI 130's Code of Ethics mandates integrity, independence, competence, professional behavior, and confidentiality for all SI staff, ensuring public trust in their work. As we wrap up this deep dive, let's reflect on the vital thread connecting all auditors. Whether external, internal, or in the public sector, their role in fraud prevention and detection is about more than just numbers. It's about trust, integrity, and protecting the systems we rely on. From ISA 240's focus on skepticism to the IIA's emphasis on governance assessments and INTOSAI's commitment to public accountability, auditors are the guardians against deception. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Let's keep the conversation alive. Share your thoughts or questions. and let's continue exploring how auditors fortify trust in our financial world together. Thank you for watching, and as always, continue learning, stay curious, and we'll see you next video.